Now, as we said, the Spanish-American War was only a couple months, but there was another lesser-known war that actually lasted 3 years, and some people said, all the way up until 1913. It started in 1899, and that is the Philippine-American War, or simply put, the Philippine War. Now, what happened here? All right. So first thing, if you want to get 1899, just to understand this is after that war there. This is a war over independence following the Spanish-American War. And so why did this happen? What's going on? If you remember, I told you, and these are just a few scenes of the Philippine-American War there. If you remember, I told you when General Dewey won the Philippines with the naval battle, he had to have some help. And that help came in the form of a leader named Emilio Aguinaldo. And so Emilio Aguinaldo is a Filipino rebel. Now, if you're spelling Filipino, that's with an F, not a PH. I don't know why it is. It's Filipino. So Emilio Aguinaldo is the help on the inside that helps out. Now, once he sees that the Americans are not going to leave and let them have their autonomy, their sovereignty, their ability to rule themselves, he starts gathering the fighters to fight again. And this little war lasts 3 years, or 10 times as long as the actual Spanish-American War. Now, it was over Filipino or Philippine nationalism. That basically means nationalism, you want your own country, governed by your own people. However, the Filipinos did not get their full nationalism until 1946. It's not until after World War II. And so there's a little crazy bit story there. So, what happens, Emilio Aguinaldo leads an insurrection. An insurrection is a rebellion. And it's against the United States forces stationed there, and it's over getting their rights. Now, this war was different entirely from other wars we've seen because of a new tactic called guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla does not mean they use the animals to come out, but guerrilla warfare exists in a lot of jungle, dense areas where you have something to hide behind. We're not going to line up in a straight line, Red Rover, send so-and-so over. It relies on ambush, it relies on booby traps, it relies on just different tactics. And it's difficult to defend because you don't know where they're going to come at you, because instead of one big army fighting another big army, it's little skirmishes on the outside. And we've never really done, well, the United States has not, with guerrilla warfare. We didn't do well with it here, we didn't do well with it in Korea and Vietnam, and you can argue against it in Iraq and Afghanistan right now. We have successes, we have failures. It's difficult to defend. I mean, how do you defend if you don't know the terrain and they pop up? And so that's the problem. Guerrilla warfare. Now, as I said, guerrilla warfare, they rely on booby traps. This is actually one from Vietnam called a Punjai pit. We'll get to that later, all right? So guerrilla warfare, again, is ambushes and sneak attacks, knowing the land. Now, this Philippine-American War is fodder, and fodder means like fuel to the fire for the American anti-imperialists who don't like the imperialists. So here we have bill of fare, right, with the United States, and you have Cuban steak, you have Puerto Rico pig, you have Caribbean islands, and you have Philippines. See them, right? But one of the most telling, can the missionary teach the old savage, right? And so you have that cartoon from the anti-imperialist. You have this one, where they're actually fighting back at Congress, right? And then, of course, you have Anti-Imperialist League Boston feeling betrayed, and you can see George Washington Aguinaldo, right? And so there's that. Now, the best anti-imperialist cartoon I can show you is this one, and I really like this one. Take over the Philippines in the Spanish-American War. And so we have the president, right, looking at the Philippine Islands, deciding if he's going to add them, right? Now, who is this? This is Justice. You can see the weights of balances, everything done like this. And she's pulling back the curtain, and what is this? These are lynchings. These are shootings of the African Americans here in the United States. And so the mentality here is, how are you going to go and tell someone else how to be democratic when you cannot solve your own problems here? And so that's a really telling cartoon. Very, very good one. And in fact, I believe that's what it says, right? Can't get that thing to go away. But there is that. Now, ultimately, imperialism will lead us into what is known as the Great War, World War I. It was supposed to be the war to end all wars, but guess what? There's another one, and there's actually been subsequent since, and so we're going to get into that. Imperialism is a major factor in that. So, we will also talk about becoming a world power.